Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name's Josh Poniatowski, and then with me, as always, Alex.
I'm here, like always. What up, everybody?
Week 3 officially in the books, finally over. A lot of good games this week. Before we jump into that recap, though, just as a reminder, we're doing a Jackson Smith and Jigba jersey giveaway. All you got to do, like, subscribe, throw a comment in the comment section, and you'll be entered to win that jersey. For those of you on YouTube, it's on the side of the screen. I actually don't know which side, but I guess it'd be this side. I'll be putting it on the side. It'll always be there. But yeah, post that comment. You'll be entered in the drawing. We'll be giving that away at the end of the year. But without further ado, we're going to jump into the first game of the week, which was the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons. For the Falcons, Michael Penix Jr. showed that he was inexperienced, and honestly, why I originally was worried about Bijan finishing as running back 1. If the offense cannot score, then you just cannot be a running back 1. But hopefully this changes as Penix really gets more comfortable as time goes on. The game was real ugly to watch for him. Kirk Cousins actually ended up getting fired up in the fourth quarter and got put in. But, that's not great news after 3 weeks from a quarterback perspective. And I would also like to note there's a stat floating out there that Penix is 0-4 when the opponent scores over 7 points.
Yeah,
how does that
terrible.
make you feel? Yeah.
As a Bucs fan, as a division rival, I feel great about it. As a fantasy owner of some of those fantasy relevant players, maybe not.
Darnell Mooney was just as involved as Drake London. They honestly found some chemistry back as far as from opportunities go and targets. He's back into the rotation. This is an extremely pass-heavy game, though, so he should come back down to earth when it comes to a target perspective. But it's good to see that he's back in the rotation just like normal. If you need a guy, if you believe in Penix 1 week, maybe he could be that low-end wide receiver 3 flex out.
It's like, Falcons defense has actually given up the second fewest yards this season. I mean, they might be more close games than you kind of think. I don't really know they're going to be totally blown out like that often just because their defense is pretty decent.
My man, Kyle Pitts, I continue to despise him. Yeah, despise Kyle Pitts. But he stayed involved, honestly. Prior to garbage time, he was on 91% of the offensive snaps. He actually saw an increase in 11 personnel sets, which again are 3 wide receiver sets, up to 71% this week. He played only out of the spot 4 times, which again, that's due to Mooney being in the situation. If you've kept Kyle Pitts this long, he's not going to be an exciting start every single week, but he is on the field and he is an option. He's touchdown dependent like most tight ends. At least he's on the field and seeing opportunities.
Yeah, he said he is an option. Yes, he absolutely is an option. He's out there. He's a guy. He's doing a thing. But, only 4 catches for 39 yards, nothing to write home about. But the tight end position has been pretty volatile so far. So, yes, he is an option.
He is a breathing tight end. For the Panthers, Bryce Young maybe looked a little bit better this week, but they really didn't ask him to do much. The Panthers just kind of dominated the entire game from start to finish, and the defense had 2 touchdowns. So you don't need to do much when that happens.
Yeah, just when you felt like you were out, they pull you back
Completely
in. That's what happened with the
slowly.
Panthers, and it was pretty embarrassing for the Falcons. Everyone was kind of ragging on the Panthers after their 0-2 start, and then just go up and embarrass the Falcons. So love it.
Jalen Coker should be coming back in week 4. He should be absolutely on waivers. Could be a sneaky ad. Hunter Renfrow went into the rotation in the slot, and David Moore took over with Xavier Legette out. Coker has the ability, he has the skill, and he might be able to find the opportunity to become a wide receiver 2 in the offense immediately. And this is a Panthers offense run by Bryce Young. Maybe this hurts McMillian more than it helps. And if you're in a deeper league, maybe he could be worth, a stash you're at.
I actually have a deep league where I've had him on my IR for a couple weeks, so I'm ready for it. I'm ready for Coker to make an appearance. Especially the Legette injury, it's like he's even more juicy now, so I'm here for it.
For sure. And if the Panthers find some type of offense, then, maybe those two could find an increase in value. Chuba Hubbard played almost the same rotation as he did over the past 2 weeks. He saw the majority of early down work and was actually involved in some passing game work. But this is the big news, and really The upside to Hubbard has been his volume and seeing all the really important opportunities, which are really the goal line looks so that he can score touchdowns. But over the past 2 weeks, he hasn't seen one goal line opportunity. Rico has taken every single one of those snaps, which is not good because if you're not getting that volume and those high value opportunities, then what is Chuba really worth in fantasy outside of the 2 long receiving touchdowns he had in week 1 and 2? If we take those away, he hasn't scored above 10 fantasy points on the ground or through the air or in a reception standpoint. So it's just, a little worrisome.
Yeah, I mean, Dowdle ended up, another touchdown this week. I mean, you have got another 20 opportunities. Can't be mad about that. This was probably the best possible game script that the Panthers are going to be in all season. Yeah. And still ended up with only 76 yards of scoreless yards.
As far as waiver wire ads go, Jalen Coker could be one.
Pittsburgh and the Patriots. I mean, Steelers, only 139 yards for Rodgers. They did just enough to get him the win, pass him for 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf was the beneficiary of one of those. But even the score couldn't even really save his day. He ended with only 3 catches for 32 yards on 4 targets. Rodgers just doesn't really seem willing or maybe able to push the ball downfield consistently. Jalen Warren actually saw the most targets on the team was 6. Warren was kind of horribly inefficient, though. He saw a whopping 24 opportunities. That is enough for me to keep him in the flex territory. Josh, are you confidently starting any Steelers next week against a Minnesota defense that just embarrassed the Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would start Warren. He's seen an uptick in usage. He seems like the clear running back 1 in this room. His usage actually floated around 83%, which had this been any time last year, we would have been stoked about that, over Najee. And he's involved in the passing game. I could see him as a low-end running back 2/running back 3 flex option if he continues to see the volume. Kaleb Johnson is just not the guy.
No.
And they elevated, I think it was Trey Sermon. They elevated him. So Kaleb might be moving to a practice squad type of situation. Kenneth Gainwell is the change of pace back and actually ended up snaking one of the touchdowns in a very ugly game. They only saw 139 passing yards. As far as DK Metcalf goes, I would still like to share that he's the team target share leader. He's still the first read leader, but I am in the process trying to sell this man. And this hurts me to say because a couple of the guys that are in our league, Alex included, I'm trying to get rid of DK. This is the time to sell. And the reason why is because as far as separation goes from the wide receivers, he is not like 100 or 200. He is dead last in the NFL in separating from his defender of every single wide receiver in the entire NFL who has run a route.
Like on man coverage or something like that?
He just isn't in man and zone. It does not matter. He's just not separating. So if you can go out and trade him and get some type of value for him after 2 back-to-back touchdown performances, I just think you got to try to do it.
Right.
That's what I'm trying.
I get it. That makes sense. Switching over to New England, Drake Maye, continues his strong sophomore season with a QB6 finish this week. 2 passing touchdowns. Also showed out with his legs, 45 yards on the ground. Hunter Henry was a black hole of targets, pulling in 8 of his 11 targets for 90 yards and both of the touchdowns. Those targets were 6 higher than the next guy, Demario Douglas, who only had 5. Henry finished as the clear tight end 1 this week. And he's, maybe reached must-start territory soon just for what that upside can be. And his 22 targets are 4th most among tight ends this season. Last week, we also saw Rhamondre prove he's still relevant in that backfield. And then this week, he let the ball hit the ground twice and seemed to get benched for Henderson. Unfortunately, he didn't capitalize on these opportunities, Henderson, that is. He only gained 47 scoreless yards on 14 opportunities. The Patriots get to play the Panthers this week. So, Josh, do you think Henderson's a smash play against this questionable Panthers team?
I don't necessarily think smash play. He should see an uptick in usage. I haven't really done my start-sit deep dive just yet. I'm sure he could be a flex option. Henderson can explode at any point. It's still a 3-headed monster of a type of backfield. Rhamondre still exists. Gibson still exists. Josh has historically been a coach who runs multiple running backs in his offense. Even with those fumbles in that situation, unless they just completely give him the nod and say, hey, you're going to see 70% of the work, if not more, which we haven't seen as of yet. I just can't think you can just plug him in automatically and say, all right, he's the guy. As far as Hunter Henry go, he's very similar to Pitts as far as a tight end goes for me. He is on the field a lot. He runs the most routes in his team. Maybe has more of an upside because they don't really have a true wide receiver one, and this offense isn't led by Michael Penix. He could be a more valuable tight end in that situation. Hunter Henry, if you need a tight end, he's on the field. And that's what you want to see outside.
He's an option.
Green Bay Packers versus the Cleveland Browns. This entire game, defensive showcase. It finished with a score of 10-13, and the Browns won on a last-second field goal. It was crazy to see, honestly, how ineffective Green Bay was when moving the ball. But the Browns' defense is just the real deal. They have faced Chase Brown, King Henry, and Josh Jacobs, and the total that these three have mustered on the ground is 96 yards. Every week, you'll have to really make a hard decision when facing the Browns, regardless of why or who your running back might be.
Although this week, I'm curious. This week they do got Gibbs and Monty, from Detroit. So I mean, I think this could be either. I'm obviously not benching either of those. I would imagine, especially after what they just did last night. But it is. You do feel a little bit less confident than you thought you would at this point in the season.
Quinshon Judkins has taken over the running back one role in this game. He saw the better half of over 50% of the running back snaps. He took almost all early down, goal line, and short yardage running back work. He is really only capped by the Browns as a whole, and really the passing down work is still going to Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford. There is rumors that Ford might be getting traded, but either way, Sampson has shown he's a solid pass catcher. If Judkins, though, can take any work away from either of those, I see him as a low-end running back too, and if the defense can stay stout and they can keep neutral game scripts, he should be more involved. He's just an explosive runner.
I mean, consider his late start to joining the team only a couple weeks ago. It was only second game in the NFL. He's already getting 20 opportunities. I'm pretty hyped for him.
Yeah. Harold Fannin Jr. is much closer to Njoku now on the offensive side of the ball. He hasn't passed him just yet, but with rookies, they will continue to ramp up as the season's going on. If I had to own one of the two of these, I would rather own Fannin. It's going to be hit or miss weekly. Anything happens to Njoku, he'll probably get injured at some point. Hold on to Fannin.
Yeah, his snaps definitely solid, but he has seen his targets go down every game so far. I do still like his upside, but it's kind of like a little bit of a question mark, a little bit of a gamble, but I like to roll the dice on him.
It's the receiving room just being crowded. It went from essentially 4 viable weapons, Jerry Jeudy, Tillman, Njoku, and Fannin through the air, to now 5. Isaiah Bond saw his snaps, routes run increase this week. He's honestly not very far behind Cedric Tillman, and this is only week 2. While Bond isn't necessarily a fantasy relevant wide receiver yet, this is something to continue to monitor. He probably won't ever be super fantasy relevant this year unless there's some injuries around that room, or unless he just shows he's just so much better than every single guy there. It's just a crowded wide receiver room in a low-powered offense right now.
Well, it could be a high-powered offense this week. We'll see. They do, like I said, they do got to play Detroit in the Dome, which is where we know Goff likes to explode. Well, they did do good out in the elements in Baltimore last week. But so it should be, assuming the Browns defense doesn't contain them in the Dome, they might be playing from behind a lot and need to really juice the passing game up.
Moving over to Green Bay, Jordan Love was just under pressure all game. That's what it was. I don't know if you saw the clip of him running for his life. The left tackle went to go block Myles Garrett, and as he went for the block, Garrett did his inside swim move, and the left tackle just missed him completely. And the left tackle, because it's Jordan Love's blind side, he yelled to Jordan Love. He was like, "Run, Jordan, run!" He legitimately was screaming it to him, and Jordan took off running.
It was rough for Love, but he also, he does get Dallas this week, and that's been a proven get-right game for pretty much everybody. So giving him most passing yards in the league. He should have better ones to come.
Matthew Golden. Talking about the rookie wide receiver, he saw his wide receiver role increase. He played more snaps than Wicks did, and he ran more routes. While we didn't see many slot opportunities, this is super optimistic getting him on the field. I am continuing to be patient as a Golden owner. He has creeped into starting territory, not just yet, but future is bright. I would also like to note, so we talked about DK Metcalf being the very bottom of the barrel in separation. Guess who is number 1 in the NFL in separating from his defender?
The rookie?
It is the rookie, Matthew Golden.
Wow.
When we talk about him being able to separate and get open, this is a very positive sign that if he gets more involved and time goes on, maybe Jordan Love, and maybe this is the game. against that bad defense.
Poor's Cowboys defense is absolutely could be the game and kind of puts his name on the map. I will say, as far as the separation thing, I imagine DK is always pulling number one cornerbacks. I don't even know who's. That might just be slot guys on Golden. Who knows? It's probably not the team's number one cornerbacks, at least yet. But but yes, he has been looking pretty electric out there.
As far as waiver wires, again, if Matthew Golden is available and you got room to be patient, he's definitely an ad.
All right, and then switching over, next game we got Rams versus the Eagles. Brutal loss for the Rams with the Eagles blocking that game-winning field goal attempt, then running down to score. Salt on the wound. They didn't even need to score the touchdown there. They already had the lead. The clock was at 0. But from fantasy perspective, though, man, the Rams just continue to be one of the most condensed offenses in the league. Puka, Devontae, and Kyren accounted for 46 of the available 63 opportunities. All three scored in double digits this week. Puka is second. Devontae is tied for 5th in targets on the season. Blake Corum tied his career high with 8 carries. He remains an elite handcuff option. Doesn't really have any starting value right now, I would say. Rams do play the Colts next week, which is shaping up to be a surprisingly very high-profile offensive matchup. Josh, how many non-QBs do you think score next week? Score in the double digits next week for that game?
Non-QB. So I'm going to say 6 players. Kyren, Adams, Puka, Pittman will creep up there. Warren will get his due, and obviously JT will find value.
Okay. No,
I'm going with those 3.
Second receiver, no Josh Downs or anything like that over in Colts.
I'm thinking Warren is gonna be taking some opportunities from down there.
I'm here for it.
He'll be the one.
On the Philly side, I mean, Hurts and Eagles, they took a little while to warm up. They kind of weren't really that in sync in the first half, but man, they just exploded in the second half. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith both finished in the top 12 wide receivers this week to really just silence all the critics they've been dealing with all season. Saquon actually got bottled up, though. He only gained 55 yards on 23 opportunities. He did, however, have every single rushing attempt that wasn't Jalen Hurts. Nobody else, no wisp of a committee, going on in Philly. Tank Bigsby might not have much trust from the coaches yet. I mean, he's only got traded over there a couple weeks, so obviously they're not giving him any touches. The 3-0 Eagles have to take on my 3-0 Bucks next week. One of the only teams that have routinely stuffed the tush push. Thank you very much. Josh, do you think the Eagles have learned their lesson and will try running an actual football play, or do you think they want to get spanked by Vita Vea in the trenches once again?
You just sound a little salty. That's all I'm saying. You sound quite salty that they can run that play so effectively. The Eagles are going to
shut them down every time.
The Eagles are going to smush the Bucks. I'm sorry, but the Eagles have beaten the Cowboys, the Chiefs, and the Rams, and the Bucks have beaten the Falcons, who just got shut out to the Panthers, the Texans, who have no offensive line and haven't scored over 20 points, and the Jets, who had a backup quarterback. I'm just saying, y'all are 3-0, but it's not a very good looking 3-0, okay? It's probably some of the worst 3-0. Whereas on the other end, the Eagles have a solid.
Possible waiver option. What about Jordan Whittington as a possible wide receiver handcuff? Josh, I know you love those wide receiver handcuffs. We talked about that offense being so condensed. If anything were to happen to either of the Puka or Devontae, all of a sudden there'd be a lot of targets available.
Absolutely, yeah. And as another handcuff, maybe Rachaad White. Obviously, you don't want to say anything ill about Bucky, but if he goes down, I know y'all got Sean back there, but White, I would imagine, sees the uptick if anything were to happen to Bucky. So maybe a handcuff there.
He's like almost a standalone value, anyways. Like just with the opportunities he's been getting, I don't even call him like handcuff. I mean, And
PPR leagues, I could see, maybe he's getting opportunities there. And then as far as the trade target goes, I do think Kyren Williams is a trade target. He's performed very well, but somebody who is worried about Corum rotating in on drives, maybe they think, I need to get out before Corum takes over. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, Kyren is the main back there. He's just getting a little bit less work, but that offense has just been humming. So maybe a trade target for Kyren.
You're still a Kyren believer. It's almost like a buy low kind of situation.
Yeah, because people see Corum, and it's the same thing that we saw the previous week. Corum's rotating in on drives. It's the third drive of the game and the 10th drive and the 12th. There's 3 or so drives, but Kyren is their guy, and McVay's already came out. He's talked about it. He's our dude. We're just trying to get him some rest so that he isn't seeing 390 opportunities over the course of a season, which makes sense, and Corum has been capable from that standpoint. Yeah. Moving over to Houston Texans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. For Houston, CJ Stroud did find a little success late, but he didn't look good really all game. The offensive line will continue to be an issue for him, and it'll be a problem as far as finding success in the passing game. I really don't think CJ is a bad QB. I just think he's doing the best that he literally can with the offensive line he has, and he's not a mobile guy like Baker who can just actually move and make plays. Baker's just doing all he can. It's just tough to see out of Stroud.
Unless it's a super flex league, I just don't know if Stroud warrants even being rostered at this point.
I agree. I would not have him as one of my quarterbacks. Woody Marks, my boy, he took almost 50% of the offensive snaps. He dominated almost all the 2-minute drill. He did see some early down work, some third down work. And he actually saw one short yardage play. I talked about Woody before because of his blocking. I could see him hopefully getting the Joe Mixon 3-down role. I'm excited for the guy, but it really is an uphill battle in this offense with a terrible offensive line still.
Yeah, still under 100 total yards on the season. He's just one of those guys that, like, on Sunday, once one of my questionable guys officially gets put on IR, and all of a sudden have like a free roster spot, I always end up picking up him just in the event that something were to happen to Chubb or, he just takes over. But until that happens, you're not like, you don't really need a roster spot for him, but you could. You could gamble on it, but it's a gamble, I think.
I disagree. I think you need to add him. I think he's a must-add waiver this week. We see it every week. Rookies are trending up. Chubb doesn't got it. The one thing I will say is the Houston offensive line sucks. So don't expect much, even if he does see a 3-down roll. Christian Kirk ended up making his debut. He immediately saw 8 opportunities. Most of the time, this takes a while when a wide receiver hasn't been involved, in a full game. It takes him a while to get involved, but he saw 8 opportunities. He's wide receiver 2 in this offense. If you were in a PPR league, he could be some sneaky points some weeks if you needed somebody there. DJ has no time, as we've talked about, in the pocket. Who is he going to throw it to? He's going to throw to his slot guy when he sees him trailing right in front of him. Something to think about.
Yeah, they got Titans this week have given up the 11th most passing yards, so could be a good opportunity for him. I would say Kirk probably isn't touching any of my rosters, but I understand the pickup, I understand the merit, but I'm not really into Christian Kirk.
All right. Jacksonville Jaguars, T-Law, Trevor Lawrence. Again, he just did not look great. That's all I'm going to say about T-Law is just he didn't look like a very good quarterback.
Yeah, others weren't helping with a good amount of drops, though, too. But
no, I agree. Yes, that's the one thing. When you're not a good quarterback and your receivers aren't catching the ball, you look even worse. So he needs to get some help. I agree.
Yeah, he finished as quarterback 28 this week, so pretty rough.
Somebody that I do love is Bayshaw Tootin. I believe that you need to go out and get this man right now. Like, go out, get him before it's too late. Trade for somebody or pick him. If he's on waivers, he needs to be rostered 100%. If he's not on waivers, go out and try to trade for him. I'm going to be honest. I would trade Fab. I would trade a viable flex wide receiver for him. Maybe even a low end wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2, just to get him on my roster. He lost snaps this week, and everybody's like, oh, he lost snaps. There it goes. He's done for. He was in a non-contact jersey all week at practice, which a lot of people don't realize that. They probably wanted to rest him a little bit for the game. He was still explosive. He still saw opportunities, and I think eventually he's going to end up taking over this running back role from ETN, even though ETN was great and looked good, but in week 3, he was down to 54% of the overall running back offensive snaps. And every single week since week 1, he has lost snaps on this situation.
Yeah, he was only at 17% of snaps. That's pretty low. That's pretty concerning. But he has had a score in back-to-back games. I think there's no way Liam Cohen doesn't try to get him more involved moving forward.
I honestly just don't know what is wrong with Brian Thomas Jr. He dropped another couple passes. He was still on the field just as much. I think he lost maybe a couple opportunities. Towards the end, Parker Washington was getting way more involved. Yeah. He's in a funk. Maybe he has the yips. I just, outside that one single long pass, he just didn't look good. I just don't really know. I don't know.
That one big slant, though, did help them win the game. That was pretty huge. Yeah. So maybe that's like the confidence booster he kind of needed. They do got San Fran this week. They've given up the 5th fewest passing yards this season. So I don't know. Could be another rough one for him and the Jags passing offense. Who knows?
Diami Brown went down with an injury. If he stays out, Parker Washington should see an increase and really be an every down wide receiver. And he might be able to find some sneaky value if he can continue to build rapport with T-Law, especially with everybody else dropping passes and BTJ in this fun.
Yeah, I'm 11 targets and 71% of snaps. I mean, there's something to definitely keep an eye on.
Travis Hunter played on defense and split time on offense. I am giving him literally one more week and seeing how the injury plays out. But if he continues to see the role he does, I'm dropping him. You could even consider dropping him now if you wanted to, or trade him for fab dollars. He's not in. I'm serious. People are still high in him. He's just not involved. Are you giving up on Hunter yet, Alex?
Almost. I have him on one team. I think he might hang around. I haven't made like my waiver bids yet. I mean, this is basically the main concern that everyone had anyways out of the gate. Like, will he play enough wide receiver snaps to be relevant? Like, no one's doubting the talent. It's tough to do both two positions, and maybe you're just not built for it, or not like getting enough of the opportunity. Yeah, I don't know. You saw Deion Sanders came out and he critiqued Liam Cohen for not playing him enough. He said, "Just let him play.
Oh, did he?
He's got it. Like, he can do both. Like, let him do both."
I didn't see that. I did see though that as a cornerback, he did have 4 catches against him for like 50 yards or something on the 4 opportunities that they saw. It didn't look great on the defense.
Perfect passer rating.
As far as waiver wire ads go, I do think Woody Marks is an ad. Alex disagrees, but that's okay. I do think Christian Kirk from a PPR standpoint could be an ad, as well as Alex disagrees with that one. Parker Washington, potentially deeper leagues. Brenton Strange, though, we didn't talk about him, and we spoke about him last week and all the opportunities in every other week. If he's still available, talking about tight end, he needs to be added as well. Opportunities on the field. Everybody else is kind of sucking around him. Get a tight end, and then go out and buy Tootin if you need to.
Do it. All right, next game. We floated this one a couple minutes ago, but it was the Jets versus my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Man, the Bucs love to give me a heart attack. What looked like a very convincing win, all of a sudden got way too close for comfort. I mean, Tyrod was about what we expected, out of him. Seasoned veteran, nothing flashy, but passer rating of 92, 197 yards and 2 scores. I do feel vindicated when I said last week that I thought Tyrod starting would absolutely be a benefit for Garrett Wilson. He brought in 10 catches on 13 targets for 84 yards and a score. Just a much better passer than Justin Fields. Say what you will about their overall offense, but the Bucs' stout run defense was too much for Bryce Hall, though, as he only had 21 yards on 9 carries. He did have the second most targets on the team with 6, bringing in 4 for 31 yards. Braylon Allen ended with only 8 opportunities, just enough to be annoying for Bryce owners, but definitely not the 50-50 committee we were kind of worried about.
And honestly, I think this might be a good time to buy low on Bryce Hall. We know he is the most talented running back. He has almost 2 yards after contact, 2 yards before contact. He's getting 4 yards on average every time he touches the ball. Justin Fields, like we saw in week 1, should elevate him. When they do the read options, their linebackers have to make a decision. So I'm going to be trying to go out and get him this week if I can after a down week and what we just saw again against a stout Tampa Bay run defense.
Yeah, I like Bryce as a buy low. Switching over to the Bucs side, Baker, Big Schlong, Mayfield with another last-minute game-winning drive, working behind a practice squad caliber O-line. Baker put up a heroic effort, 233 yards passing, 44 on the ground with 1 score. The Bucs didn't really convert very well in the red zone. A lot of field goals this week, but that game was also a blowout for most of the game, so I don't think they were really playing with enough urgency because they thought they had it in the bag, and then all of a sudden they didn't. Unfortunately, Mike Evans did go down with his yearly hamstring injury. This is now the 8th time in his career he's gone down with a hamstring injury. Earlier reports are that it was probably minor. Bulls already came out and said if he thought it was a lower grade, maybe just a couple weeks, we'll see. But luckily, the word is that Godwin should be back this week. And if Godwin does come back, you'd have to imagine he'd be kind of eased in, not like full snaps right out of the gates.
Oh, yeah, not at all.
He's been a absolute beast so far and proven he is an NFL caliber wide receiver, but he might be drawing wide receiver 1 coverages already against the Eagles.
Yep.
So that would be kind of the ultimate test for him. He had little room to work with thanks to the poor offensive line play. He did have a massive 29 opportunities, though. And he absolutely looked electric. He just didn't have much room to work with. But again, for him, another tough outing against the Eagles defense. That's pretty strong. But I do like Bucky's season-long value. I think is still very high.
Not to say anything bad against Mecca. Me and Alex were talking about buy low options for this week. And Mike Evans was at the top of the list for both of us because of the coverages, the cornerback coverages he had been seeing. Mike Evans was top 10 in separation against man, top 10 in separation against zone. He was the best in the NFL at doing it. Was not. He was seeing opportunities. He was seeing red zone looks. He was seeing the stuff you want, but he wasn't great at separating. So now he's elevated to a wide receiver 1 potential role. He's going to see much tougher coverages. I'm high on him, but this changes quite a bit now that he is the true wide receiver 1.
He does have some nasty hands, though. He was coming down with some really impressive catches.
For sure.
So, there's different ways to play the position,
Very true. And the other thing I just want to mention is the Bucs offensive line is as injury prone as the entire Niners team. Even with y'all's left tackle coming back and, your center moving back to center, that's 2 of 5 offensive linemen that are in their starting role, and the other 3 are backups. Yes, it'll get better, but that is the best it's going to get for that window of period, assuming everybody else stays healthy for the next, 10-plus weeks.
Yeah, I'll just throw on last for a little waiver ad. I would say Sterling Shepard. He has a long history of playing with Baker, especially if there is no Chris Godwin this week. We'll have to kind of watch that. He could be the literal number 2 wide receiver for the Bucs. So decent option on the waiver for you.
Moving over to Cincinnati Bengals versus Minnesota Vikings. The Bengals looked terrible almost all around. I wouldn't be surprised if they started making calls for Kirk Cousins, Jameis Winston, or any of the other potential quarterbacks that just need a home. Russell Wilson, maybe. We'll talk about some of that later when we get to the Giants game. But Wilson might be even placed on the block at this point. The big hot topic item, though, from the Bengals is Chase Brown. But let's talk about Chase Brown. I love this man. I am a Chase Brown truther. He did losing snaps and opportunities for the first time this year, but everybody's been spouting yards per carry is so low. Like, that's the data. Oh, yards per carry, 2.6, 2.3. Like, everybody's been spouting that, but they're not looking at the bigger picture. I was like, all right, what is the real issue with Chase Brown? And let's do a little deep dive. Chase Brown is number 18 in the NFL. He's tied with your boy Bucky Irving for forced missed tackles. He's making people miss. On a per attempt basis, he's breaking tackles similar to Josh Jacobs and Breece Hall. He's still good at creating and making opportunities for himself. However, 99%, Alex, 99% of his yards have come after contact. He has 93 yards, and 92 of them are after contact. That is just insane. It's number 1 in the NFL. Like, that's ridiculous.
It's pretty impressive.
If you had to guess, how many yards do you think Chase Brown travels on a per attempt basis before he is in contact by a defender when he's handed the ball? How many yards?
You just said he's only had one yard in this whole season, so obviously it's going to be 0.0 something, 0.0 maybe.
Yes,
I don't know.
It is. It is 0.02 yards. This means he hasn't even taken a step yet. This man, like, that's not even a foot. I did the math. I was like, all right, how many is 0.0 yards to a yard? And it's not even a foot, and they're already tackling him. Chase Brown is not the problem. The problem is the Bengals, okay?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue. So when you spend 50% of your cap on skill position players and you don't have an offensive line, and now your quarterback, who is the main reason and your passing opportunity to give the running back some room, is injured, it is freaking me out as a Chase Brown owner almost everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, even with Joe Burrow last year, they were still losing games. I mean, obviously, they're going to be even worse without him. But I mean, snaps and opportunities were kind of like the bedrock of Brown's value. And now that both of those are slipping and the Bengals won't have nearly the level of red zone chances as we kind of anticipated, I'm just not sure I'm even like confident starting Brown in, I guess, maybe like a flex play, but like you're not feeling good if he's like in an RB1 or RB2 slot for you. They have Broncos this week, whose rushing defense has been kind of middle of the pack, 114 yards giving up a game. So we'll see if they can maybe get something figured out.
They also have Detroit after that, and then Green Bay after that, which is tragic. With that said, I am literally worried about every single Bengals playmaker. I know last week we were talking about points per game average, but after just watching that one game, they have a backup quarterback. They have no offensive line with the front office. And that was the one thing that I overlooked last week was the offensive line. I went back to 2023 when Jake Browning played, and I looked at, all right, how good was the offensive line in weeks 13 to week 18 when Browning put up all those points and when Mixon actually put up a good effort and when all the other playmakers did well. They were floating around like 20 to 25 was their range of offensive line work from a run point as well as passing. Now they're sitting at like 31 to 32, and their run offensive line production is the worst, if not one of the worst in the NFL. I do have a lot of Chase Brown stock. I'm going to try to get what I can for them. One of two things need to happen. The offensive line needs to get better, or the passing game needs to get better. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think either of them is going to, the way that this front office is operated, because they had all offseason to do it. Falling on my sword, and I am saying trade Chase Brown and get the value while you can.
I'm getting so low from you now. I'm going to love it.
I hate it. And Chase Brown, by the way, is a talented running back. I don't want you to slander his name by saying that his opportunities was his value. No, he's not Chuba Hubbard. He is a extremely talented running back. If Chuba was getting contacted 0.02 yards behind the line of scrimmage, he would have 5 rushing yards, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that slander ever again.
Here's a stat. Just kind of like a pile on. So Jake Browning so far, these 2 games, he got 59 passing attempts. He's thrown 5 interceptions. That's like an 8 or 9% interception rate. That's insane.
It's so bad. So if you have Vikings players, and I'm talking Jamar Chase too. I went back and looked at Jamar Chase's data, and I know we've talked about this, but I'm trading Jamar Chase, and I'd try to get I'm just throwing Garrett Wilson immediately. I would accept that. No questions asked.
Chase was, I think it was like 9.5 or something like that. Average, fantasy points per game average in the 7 games they played together in 2023. And that's, you're saying, with a somewhat better O-line than what they have now. Yeah. So it could be worse.
It's the offensive line that I'm worried about. And I honestly didn't realize how bad it was versus 2023. But moving over to the Vikings, Jordan Mason played almost all of the early down and short yardage work and all of the third downs. He floated around 75% of the offensive snaps. I am treating him as a high-end running back 2 with running back 1 upside. Now that we have seen this, especially with Jones out. Cam Akers was just signed, though, and he did play this week. So we might maybe see some Mason lose some work as he gets more involved. I'll continue to monitor this, but right now he is really, you got to feel good about it if you ended up rostering Mason. I also even think when Jones comes back, it's going to be the Mason show. Jones is turning 31 this year. Injury, especially soft tissue and hammies, just, you can recover, but it's still going to be there all year. You got to feel good. I wouldn't even trade him away. Oh, I'm worried about Jones coming back. That's not the perspective I'm looking at.
No, I get that. And obviously, this was against an embarrassing Bengals team. We had to feel good about 116 yards and 2 scores. They do have Pittsburgh this week, who have surprisingly given up the 7th most rushing yards this season. So it could be another good game for him.
Yeah, I think Pitt, though, also faced Derrick Henry in week 1, who had like 228 yards. That might skew that data point a bit, but either way, he is.
Bryce, they had Bryce on the Jets week 1, which they did explode. They did explode, okay, right, for sure.
Right. But
they had like 200 in Justin Fields. They had like 200 yards on the ground. So
Fields. It
might have been. It might have been still, a little skewed.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh's defense, hasn't looked great as a whole, through these 3 weeks, regardless. DJ Hawkinson came back to life. I just don't know with this coaching staff. I think they're messing around with everybody on how they use him because his usage just shot back up. He almost saw as many snaps out of the slot as Adam Thielen. He saw 85% of the offensive snaps before garbage time, which is better than his 20 and 21 season where he just balled out. As a Hawkinson owner, this is very optimistic, and the panic that you were having in week 2 should be much better. I don't know if this was like a 1-week thing based on what we've actually seen with the usage, but you gotta love that as a Hawkinson owner.
His tight end 5 finish this week is definitely like a sigh of relief for any Hawkinson owners. Maybe Wentz just knows how to utilize the tight end better than JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I think I talked about that in my start sit video, baby. Jordan Addison will be coming back in week 4. If someone dropped him or forgot about him, go and pick him up. Week 5, but he'll be back soon. It happened in our league, such a taco league. Alex is in that league. What a taco. Addison has been a wide receiver 23 or better through 2 years. Go search for him. Do you think Addison will see just as much success with JJ and T-Hawk now that Wentz is throwing in passes, or even when McCarthy comes back?
I would say for both. I mean, I kind of might like Wentz more than McCarthy, but I'd say both of them I like less than Sam Darnold last year. I would say I'm not expecting more than last year. That's not good value still.
Yeah,
I thought Darnold is better than both Wentz and McCarthy.
Okay, so again, waiver wire might be Jordan Addison if he happened to be out there, because a lot of leagues don't let you move suspended players to IR, so somebody maybe dropped him because they had no other option. So go look for him.
Switching over, we got the Raiders and the Commanders. Geno and the Raiders just couldn't really hang with the Mariota-led Commanders. Geno did throw for 289 yards and 3 scores because the Raiders were down basically the entire game. Unfortunately, the fantasy world is pissed because Trey Tucker gobbled up all 3 of those touchdowns, which is nobody saw it coming.
Insane. Put up 40.
Genty, Brock, and Jacoby all underwhelmed as a result. Genty still can't really make anything happen. He's sitting under 3 yards per opportunity this season. The most concerning part was 0 targets in the passing game when the Raiders were trailing the whole game. The Raiders take on the Bears next week, who've given up the 4th most total yards in the league. Josh, any of these Raiders playmakers you're most concerned about?
Well, I won't talk about Brock Bowers because I've shared all my sentiments about him earlier in the season, and what I said is happening. Point Josh on that. But I will talk about Ashton Genty. I do believe his time is coming. Owners need to keep waiting. Going into this season, everybody was high, not on the Raiders, not because they thought they were going to score a lot of points, because he was going to see a lot of volume. That is why they were high on him. They also were high on him because he is an extremely talented running back. And that is what we're seeing. He is talented. He's getting volume. This goes back to the Chase Brown issue. He's just being contacted by a defender after 1 yard. So it's not quite as bad as Chase Brown, but it is top 4 in the NFL. He's getting 1 yard, and then he has to break a tackle because he's already getting tackled. The offensive line isn't really doing much to help him out. He still needs a little bit of space. I'm not giving up on him. Again, he's a rookie. He's talented. He's getting opportunities. And it's not like Chase Brown from a offense is in like desperate mode situation. Just be patient.
Hold tight on Genty.
Be patient.
Switch over to the Commander's side. Hey, Mariota went out and did what he needed to do. Kept this high-powered offense moving. They used a robust RB committee approach. Bill, McNichols, Debo even, and Rodriguez all had over 3 carries. Bill did get a score to save his fantasy day for those that kind of gambled on starting him. But Rodriguez actually led the backfield with 11 carries. We had reports about him all in the preseason. Apparently, they just really liked the guy, and they were talking about him, using him a lot. The Commanders were up the whole second half. And Rodriguez has 20 pounds on Bill, so I think they were just happy just getting that bruising back in there, just running the ball up the gut. But this does kind of drop Bill down to only maybe flex consideration for me. Luke McCaffrey actually got their 1 receiving touchdown on the day. Debo and Scary Terry were both kind of lackluster this week. But Mariota has never really been known to kind of push the ball downfield, and the Commanders didn't really need to. So I think that's kind of why the receivers didn't really do anything juicy this week. They do have the Falcons this upcoming game, who have given up the fewest passing yards in the league and the second fewest total yards. Josh, do any Commanders playmakers warrant a start for you next week?
Yeah, I think Debo and Terry are always potential starters. It's a high-powered offense. They are wide receiver 1 and 2 interchangeably on that offense. I think they always have a potential to score points, regardless of who they are technically facing on the defensive side of the ball. The running back committee, though, is just super confusing. That came out of nowhere. He was in on the first drive. Chris Rodriguez, it was the first drive. He was seeing opportunities in the red zone. I was like, what is happening right now? It seems to be a 3-headed monster right now and unpredictable. I don't have an answer, and I don't know if many people do have an answer for this situation.
Impossible waiver wire picker from this game, obviously. Trey Tucker, anytime you get a chance to get somebody who can possibly put up a 3-touchdown game, you got to consider that.
Yeah. Denver Broncos versus Los Angeles Chargers. So with the Broncos, I would like to say me and Alex missed. We missed big with Cortland Sutton, like mile high miss, and that fits perfectly with Denver. Man, I just realized like how beautifully that missed there. But I want you to know, like when we make these calls, we are doing the same thing in our lineup. So if you sat Cortland Sutton, just know that I had him sitting on my bench as well. Sutton is. we were worried about Franklin, and maybe Franklin does still have that breakout, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But Sutton's going to be the main wide receiver. We doubted him after one down week. We should be ashamed of ourselves in PPR scoring. Sutton has finished with more than 10 points in 16 out of the 20 games since last year, which is 80% chance of finishing with more than 10 points. So
I'll say my doubt in him last week was based more on the Chargers cornerback.
For sure.
And it was really his talent, but yes, he did make me look very dumb. Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
I was with you.
Well done, Cortland. Well done.
Yeah. Franklin ended up staying as a wide receiver 2 from a usage standpoint, which is beautiful. We were certain what Sean Payton was going to do. So this is great news. If you got him off waivers, don't just give up on him because of one down game. He's still wide receiver 2 in a high-powered offense, essentially.
Yeah, 79% of snaps out there. I kind of actually like him as like a post-high buy low, like maybe like a little throw-in instead of like a 2-for-1 trade. It's like, oh, just throw in Franklin for me too to kind of balance it out. And I think he's going to sneaky value still.
RJ Harvey was slightly more involved and it was much less of a committee. The issue is J.K. Dobbins looked phenomenal running the ball. He actually, I think, had a one-handed catch too. Unless J.K. loses a step, I'm not sure RJ will get more looks. I still believe that RJ, if someone drops him, or you can trade for him for low value, do it, get him. It'll be a waiting game out, in that running back situation. Of running backs with over 20 attempts, JK is only behind Jahmyr Gibbs with 3 yards before contact. With that being said, yes, JK is good, but he's also getting 3 yards on the ground before anybody touches him. And hey, let's be honest, me and you could be good in that type of situation.
What is it, like 25,000% higher than Chase Brown's getting?
Yeah, Chase Brown. Oh man, that's I gotta do that math. I'm gonna have to write that on our Twitter.
I don't know.
Oh, that's silly.
Dobbins is looking like the real league winner to me. Consider that his ADP. I mean, he's the league winner right there. Good Lord, that guy's going crazy.
But if anything happens to Dobbins, RJ Harvey, league-winning gold mine, in my opinion. That's why I like him being rostered. How dare you doubt RJ? I'm sick of it.
I'm just saying, Dobbins is playing so good.
He is really good. For the Chargers, Najee Harris went down with a non-contact injury and is out for the season. Amarion Hampton's usage saw an uptick. If he gets these looks next week, though, he should be a true workhorse. Either way, he has to get better as a runner, and if he can find a way to get better, he has running back 1 upside on an offense that is scoring a ton of points and moving the ball down the field. If you have Hampton, hope for the best. Unless you are Ross, then you should trade him to me.
Yeah, just do it. But yeah, Hampton was running back 5 this week. That was nice to see.
I reached out to Ross actually before the game started, and I was like, hey, let's make a deal for Hampton. There's a couple other guys. I was really targeting Hampton, but I gave him a couple options, and he ghosted me. Good job ghosting me, Ross. That was a lucky move on your part.
That's his trading tactic.
I know, right? Sure, I'll trade. Won't say anything. Just ignore you. Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and Keenan Allen were heavily involved, just like every other week. Until we see them slow down at all, you got to just feel good owning all the Chargers and just starting him. Just ride the hot hand,
Yeah, I mean, I think Ladd owners have to be a little bit in shambles. Not that he's looking
ADP.
great, but he went from being the lone bright spot on that offense to now it's like a legit 3-headed beast. And he's not getting as much use as they were probably anticipating because, he's going in the second round or so. But other than that, yes, it's a very potent offense.
On the tight end side, they had a rotation, but the 5th round rookie, Orden Gaston, put up a 5 for 49 stat line, even with the limited snaps. If you need a tight end in a very deep league, he could be a great move. If his snaps increase, he could end up being a viable tight end in normal leagues on a high-powered offense. So, and I ended up going back. I went and looked at rookie analytics and profiles from our data research that we did. And Gadsden wasn't Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, or Harold Fannin Jr. level elite as far as the passing game goes, but he was number 4 in almost every analytical important category that connected with receiving tight ends. He is a very capable pass catcher, and he could be worth more if he gets the starting tight end nod in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, 7 targets on only 26% of snaps. But is his offense? I know we just talked about this offense being really good, but now he's like what? Yeah. Maybe 5th or 6th in the pecking order at best. I'm just not sure if it's enough to really sustain that. But But yeah, he had a decent game. I kind of came out of nowhere. All right, switching over next game, we got the Arizona Cardinals versus the San Francisco 49ers. Man, the Cardinals lost on a last-second field goal to the 49ers, which have never been able to kick a field goal in their life. Kyler and the offense just couldn't really get anything really going. I mean, Marvin Harrison had some brutal drops that just can't happen in the NFL. I don't really know what's going on with him. He's gone back-to-back games under 50 yards without a score in either, and it isn't getting enough targets to really make up for the drops. It's not like he's just getting like 15, 12 targets a game. It's like, okay, he missed a couple here or there. He's only getting like 6 targets a game. His value's just getting kind of lower and lower for me. McBride still commanded the most targets on the team with 8, and he got a touchdown. He doesn't have that lingering over his head all season like he did last year. But the biggest news from this game is just that James Conner going down with the season injury.
Tragic.
Everyone who took old reliable Conner is kind of also now in shambles. Trey Benson owners are super hyped. He saw a career high 13 touches. The Cards take on the Seahawks, who've given up the 7th fewest rushing yards this season. Benson is still probably a low-end RB2 for me value-wise. But absolutely the biggest waiver ad if available. I mean, I would say, if he's Crazy Thunder. I would say if he's on your waiver wire, you got to drop 100%. I think he's 100% fab value guy. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, if I need a running back, I absolutely would. I've actually already put an offer in another league that he's on waivers. I maxed out my fab, and in that league, I have Jordan Mason, CMC, Josh Jacobs, and Chase Brown currently. I'm still trying to get him.
Switch over to the 49ers. Mac Jones kept the Niners undefeated. And then CMC saw an absolutely absurd 32 opportunities this week. But to me, the biggest thing was Ricky Pearsall commanded a career-high 11 targets, bringing in 8 of them for 117 yards. He now has the 3rd most receiving yards in the league. And I think that his 0 touchdowns actually kind of holding him back from what I think his like true value could be. I think he could be like a good buy low option. It's only him and Puka in the top 24 scoring wide receivers in fantasy football that don't have a touchdown this year. So I think once the touchdowns start coming, I think his value shoots up, and I think he's a really good buy low opportunity. Josh, do you think Ricky Pearsall could finish as possibly a top 10 wide receiver this year?
Yeah, I tried my darndest to buy Ricky last week. Like I said last week, I would bet on a wide receiver who is 25 and got shot and still came back in that same season over a Jag, Juan Jennings. I don't think he's top 10, but he is absolutely top 15 range discussion as the year goes on based on what happens with Brock. Again, the Niners are just so darn injury prone, and Shanahan is about winning games. Kittle will also come back. So if the scheme doesn't fit Parcel one week, they're going to look a different direction, which is the only reason why, maybe not that top 10 range.
That's fair.
Moving over to New Orleans Saints versus the Seahawks. For New Orleans, the Saints got absolutely shredded. They were down by 21 points in about 10 minutes, and by halftime, they were losing by 38. The good news is that if you have a Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, and Alvin Kamara, they should continue to see some capacity in the passing volume offense. I checked the next 10 weeks, and I was like, all right, are the Saints favored by Vegas in any of these games? The answer was no. They are not favored in a single game, at least through the next 10 weeks.
I was like, can you think of any team you would favor them? I don't know.
However, with the opportunities that come in the passing game, Alvin Kamara's targets are way down, and I'm going to continue to blame Kellen Moore offensive scheme and a little bit of Spencer Rattler. As I've mentioned almost every time I've talked about this, Kellen Moore has a history of hurting running back passing opportunities. I literally didn't think it would be this bad. While we only have a 3-game sample size, he has seen only 8 targets in games that the Saints have had a negative game script all game. They have been losing all game, and he only has 8 targets. Kamara is bonkers. So for me, Kamara's usage should be way up in the passing game, but it's not. If you are in a PPR league, he probably still has plenty of value, and people probably haven't made that connection yet. This is your choice, but I am personally, if I have him, I would be selling him right now before people got a little too wise to this issue in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's only RB22 on the season, so I don't think you're getting like anything crazy out of him, but you do have that kind of like that name recognition, so I think people will still have interest in him and want him. They got Buffalo and Giants the next 2 weeks. Both are bottom half defenses so far, so maybe he could pop off for a decent game, but just that whole offense is about as rough as we thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, if you got DK and Kamara, throw a little package and, go get a running back or wide receiver to upgrade a little bit. With the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker saw 76% of the running back snaps this week. He was the main guy in short yardage and goal line. When he was on the field, he saw 56% of the opportunities. That is both in the running and passing game. He finished with 50 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm going to be honest that Kenneth Walker probably has top 10 running back 1 league-winning upside, maybe running back 5 upside if it is just him in the backfield. The issue is the coaches, Kenneth Walker, and literally anybody in the organization has continued to say that it will be a split backfield. We can hope and pray as Walker believers that his talent will be the reason why he becomes the running back 1, but we might need to start listening to what everybody in the organization is saying. When Sharp comes back healthy, it'll be concerning. If you want to wait and you hope that Sharp will stay injured or whatever, do it, but maybe you can get a lot of value for him right now after that game.
I mean, yeah, they got Cardinals next week, who've given up the 4th fewest rushing yards this season. Could be a very nice time to sell him considering he's coming off of 2 top 10 RB weeks back to back. So I think his value is pretty high.
As far as waiver wire ads go, maybe Cooper Kupp, maybe.
I would say Torrey Horton had a touchdown. I think he had 2 touchdowns. Maybe a good pick.
He did have 2 touchdowns, but one was on
a return or something, right? Titans versus Colts. The Titans just could not hang with the Indiana Jones-led Colts. Rookie Cam Ward was largely ineffective. His 5.8 yards per attempt was good for 21st this week. Pollard continues to get volume and got a score this week, but is still averaging only in the single digits for the fantasy points this season. Ridley also had a terrible performance, only bringing in 1 of his 7 targets. We talked a lot about how Will Levis missed through balls to him all last season, but now it's looking like maybe Ridley was also part of the problem. I don't know. He is also averaging in the low single digits this season for fantasy points. The one bright spot is Alec Aomanor, or E-Man, as we like to call him around these parts. You heard it here first, people. He brought in another touchdown and continues to see around 75% of the snaps. It's gotten to a point. Would you rather flex Ridley or E-Man at this point?
I'm flexing neither of them. I'm over it at this point. Ridley's upside was that he was the only wide receiver in this offense that we expected to see plenty of opportunities to play from behind and get usage. That was his upside. And that he's a great receiver and that he should be able to produce with those opportunities. Now, E-Man is in town. I think this hurts both their fantasy values, honestly, and their relevance. What, are you going to get out of either of these guys? E-Man has scored a touchdown the past 2 weeks. We're getting 10 to 15 points, and he scored a touchdown. That's a good week, right? That's a good week for them. So for me, it's just an unexciting situation. The offense is unexciting. Cam Ward is unexciting. The organization is unexciting. And I'm ready to trade Ridley for fab dollars. That's what I'm ready to do.
Remember this time last year, we were kind of saying the same thing about Bo Nix and Denver. They were looking pretty rough. So, hey, sometimes you got to give the rookie a couple games, kind of work his way through the kinks,
Moving over to the Dallas Cowboys versus the Chicago Bears. The Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb was injured in a non-contact injury, which is never great. Jerry Jones came out and he was like, yeah, it's not that bad. Don't worry about it. But we know Jerry. We'll kind of wait and see what comes out. The reports are floating around 1 to 4, 1 to 5 weeks. There hasn't been a legitimate statement as of yet. However, the injury does elevate Pickens and Turd Ferguson in the passing attacks. Turpin actually saw the biggest elevation in snaps and opportunities with CeeDee out, while Pickens and Ferg should be the number 1 and 2. Turpin maybe has been on the team for 4 years. He's just a jag, but he has chemistry with Dak. Saw an increased role, but much deeper leagues. Maybe he's worth an ad.
They do have the Packers defense this week, though, so could get real ugly over there in Dallas. But not as ugly as my one fantasy team that had CD and Mike Evans as my 2 starting receivers. That got real ugly real quick. Yeah, luckily, they're both only month longers and not season longers. So I just gotta survive. Buckle up and survive.
Get to the playoffs, and then you'll be looking studly. Hey. Javonte Williams played his normal role as the main running back in the first half. He saw around 70% of the running back snaps. And while this is a bit decrease each week, he's still the main guy. The second Dallas starts to fall behind, though, Miles Sanders ends up taking majority of the snaps. So if you just looked at the box score, you would have seen this is a split with Javonte. Javonte is still the main running back to own in Dallas. As long as Dallas can keep games close, which we expect based on the offense, Javonte should be considered a low-end running back 2 moving forward, and maybe a buy low potential especially after that Green Bay situation.
Yeah, I mean, even in a bad game for him, he still had 15 opportunities. I'm happy with, considering where his value's at and what he's been getting.
As far as waiver wire ads go, Turd Ferguson needs to be rostered in all formats now. With CD out, he gets elevated to the second option in this passing attack. For the Bears, Kaleb and Ben Johnson did exactly what I thought he would do against Dallas defense. If you listen to my start sit video, I said this could be a top 5 week for Kaleb. And what did he do? He went out and faced as a quarterback 1, baby. I started in one of my leagues and enjoyed the easy win. This isn't probably going to be the type of outing we're going to see every week out of Kaleb, but it was very optimistic. If you're a Kaleb truther, you got to be feeling good. Ben Johnson, I watched that full game. He scripted just such a beautiful game. It was just great to see.
I hear you. I was there last year. It was like when I called Kaleb and the Bears torching the Jags over in the London game. Called him a start of the week, and he popped off for 5 touchdowns. Sometimes you see a juicy matchup and you got to capitalize.
The biggest takeaway for me, though, from this game was Luther Burden III. This was the rookie. I was watching all game and not Kyle Munungai. All right. Burden wasn't necessarily more involved in snaps, but he had a good outing on the field if he can find a way into this offense. I am so excited for him. At the start of the year, I was lower on Burden because it was just such a crowded room, but Ben Johnson is craving his Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's just craving to find it. And we were questioning in the draft. We were like, why did this man go out and draft a wide receiver when he has a tight end that he took in the first round? He's got DJ Moore. He has Rhamondre, first round pick. Why would he do that? Maybe Burden is the guy. So what I'm going to do is he's definitely available in your league. I am adding this man to my team now. And if I can hold him and wait however many weeks it might take, maybe 8 weeks, it might take a while, hold him. Please hold him. Because I think he's going to be a stud.
All the bye week massacres. Yeah,
you got to. Yep, hold on to that man. Him and Tootin. Those are the two that I'm holding on to. And maybe RJ and Henderson, all the others.
Most of his success came on one big flea flicker. He's still only out there for 29% of snaps. He only ran 9 routes this week, so I'm not buying too much into him yet.
He was not involved, but he's a rookie. It's going to take him time. DJ Moore, trade block. He might be going somewhere. You never know. I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm taking a deep shot here, all right? Just like I did on who did I take a deep shot last week? Cam, and he friggin' popped off. So Rhamondre honestly seems to be the clear wide receiver 1 in Chicago. We have seen multiple end zone and red zone looks schemed literally for him. He is Kaleb's favorite target, and in the first 3 weeks, he has appeared to be – this is a changing of the guard type of situation. If you got a Dunze, I'm holding on to him. I think he's a wide receiver 1 in this offense. Kyle Munungai came in during the 2-minute drill reps at the end of the second quarter and saw 3 opportunities. Alex texted me, said 3 opportunities first half. I was like, get out of here with all that.
Yeah.
Swift opportunities did decrease from his normal 67 to 70% to 61%. Maybe Munungai is taking opportunities, or Swift is the questionable tag is the reason why that happened. So they pulled him back a little bit all game. But either way, Roschon Johnson was healthy and just a scratch. Munungai has the backup role, which got to make you feel good, Alex.
And Swift is only averaging 3.5 yards per carry on the season. I don't think he's got that strong of a grip on the reins there. So I don't know. Possible it could flip. It takes one game and it can flip.
Very true. Waiver wire ads, I'm adding Luther Burden, and Alex is definitely adding Kyle Munungai. If you haven't added it yet, make sure he's on your team.
2 teams. Get out of here. I don't need to, but yeah. Switching over, we got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New York Giants. Man, this was a boring freaking game, not going to lie. The Chiefs didn't look great, but the Giants looked even worse. While Mahomes had started the year with back-to-back QB6 finishes, which is pretty nice. The end of this week is only QB20. The Chiefs continue to have one of the worst running back committees in the league, with Hunt and Pacheco both getting exactly 10 carries and only combining for a total of 79 yards. Meanwhile, Mahomes really spread the ball around well this week. 5 players had at least 4 targets. Tyquan Thornton is slowly gaining Mahomes' trust, gaining in targets each game this season. Kelsey continues to look old, but Josh, I know you love a good corpse, so he's there for you.
Yep.
This offense is in dire need of Worthy and Rashee Rice. They have the Ravens next week. Both teams are 1-2, so it'll be kind of crazy to see that either one of these teams starts the season as 1-3. But I mean, I put my money on Lamar and the Ravens. I think there's the better overall team, better offense, and I think they pull it out. You calling Kelsey or Mandrews to have the better fantasy performance next week?
Andrews just went for 2 touchdowns and did what he normally does. He gives you nothing for a couple weeks and then says, "Hold on there, fellas. Don't forget about me. I'm an elite tight end." I'm going to answer the question with Kelsey is a floor. He's a corpse. He's on the field. He's going to see targets. And Andrews is the ceiling. So pick who you need on your team. Andrews is a ceiling guy. Kelsey is a floor guy for me. And that's how I'm viewing them moving forward.
A little bit of moving over to the Giants. It is officially dart time. Russ was so bad in this game, and Brian Daboll so desperately trying to save his job that he is sending out first-round pick Jackson Dart against a very tough Chargers team that's given up the 8th fewest yards this season. Malik Neighbors is currently 3rd in the league with 32 targets. I would imagine the rookie will be trying to throw it his way early and often. The other big news, Tyron Tracy going down with that injury. So now all of a sudden, Cam Scatabo sees a career-high 18 opportunities. He's looking like the lead back, and he really shined when he had that opportunities. Racked up 121 total yards and a score. Josh, are you hyped for the new era or weary of maybe like a rookie leading this team?
As far as Dart goes, I feel like Daboll missed such a great opportunity to roll him out in the second half of the game. They're 0-2. They're at home. Kansas City is on a losing streak. They're 6-6. Like, Scadudo is going crazy. Roll the man out there. Get a win. It just makes no sense to me why he waited a week. But yes, I think it is an increase. And as a Giants fan, you just have to be stoked from an organization and exciting standpoint. Scadudo, Neighbors, Dart, all these guys can make plays. So it's just exciting. I will say I would trade Chase Brown straight up for Cam. I would make that trade right now.
Wow.
I would make that trade right now. And I'm going to send that offer.
BTJ with Cam. I'm working on a guy right now. We'll see. It's actually Nick. Don't. He won't listen this far. This is deep. We're deep in the episode. He won't know.
We are deep into Cam, though.
The waiver wires, obviously, Jackson Dart. If you look at that, Tyquan Thornton, and he's seeing increased value each week. The last game, the Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens, Goff proved he can do it outside the dome, too. That Lions offense was clicking. Unfortunately for Goff, as we've seen so often, some games they just decide to pound the rock once they get in the end zone. So Goff only scored 1 touchdown. So his QB 22 finish this week is kind of a poor reflection on how well he really was playing. Monty and Gibbs showed once more that they are the best running back duo in the league. Both had 2 touchdowns. They finished this week as the fantasy running back number 2 and 3 on the week. Amon-Ra also had his classic game, 7 catches, 77 yards on score. Just the epitome of an Amon-Ra game. Laporta and JMO, they were around, but just weren't really needed this week to explode. The Lions offense has 103 points on the year, which is tied for 2nd. So even in the post-Ben Johnson era, they are performing the way they have been. Josh, I know you love to hear about bad beats. In the fourth quarter, when the Lions were trying to run the clock out, they had the lead. They had already gone for it on 4th down. It was under 2 minutes. They give David Montgomery the ball, and he explodes for a 31-yard score. And in the background, or in the the highlight, you can see Goff gesturing go down, because if he goes down, they can just run the clock out and they win the game. But instead, he gets another 31-yard touchdown. They give Lamar the ball back with 1:50 left in the game. Lamar goes down the field, hits Mandrews for a 27-yard score with 35 seconds left. I had a league where the guy went into that matchup up 22 against only Mandrews. And, so obviously he lost, and just so brutal. Yeah. Shows just the ripple effects of had Monty just gone down for the goal line, which he probably should have done. And that person was Kyle, by the way, just in case you want to text him and give him shit. He was so pissed. The Lions have the number 1 defense, Cleveland Browns, next week, but it is at home. It's in the Dome. Do you think the Cleveland Browns defense is the real deal, or does the Lions offense continue to kind of cruise as they've been doing?
Yeah, so we saw the Lions get shut down by Green Bay in week 1. Last week, I did have Goff as a streamer because the Ravens run a league high 38% cover one. Well, Cleveland runs higher than that. They run 40% cover one. And Goff averages 1 fantasy point per drop back. So yes, Goff will find success against Cleveland through the air. And we already know their ground attack can be elite. Even if they stuff them on the ground, which the Browns obviously have a great chance at doing, I think Goff finds value and the Lions keep rolling, even with that great Cleveland defense.
Switch over to Ravens side. Couple tough losses, to bring the Ravens down to 1-2 to start the year. Kind of surprising. But the offense is number 1 in scoring this season. Our weekly quarterback finishes this season are number 4, and number 3. He's doing it all through the air, on the ground.
The
Ravens,
man.
They might be a better version of kind of what we thought the Cowboys and the Bengals would be this season, where their defense is just playing so terrible that it's just leading to shootouts every single game, which really lets Lamar just go out there and go berserk. King Henry has actually kind of looked human lately, only 57 total yards in this game. And he did have a touchdown kind of save his day, but he also fumbled in every game this season so far. So, but he does kind of seem to always get better as the season progresses through. So, I'm still holding on him pretty high. So if anything, I could see him as like a buy low candidate. Zay Flowers was a ghost out there, only catching 2 passes for 13 yards, kind of proving he's just that roller coaster of a player. Surprising recipient of the targets was good old reliable Mandrews, bringing in 6 catches for 91 yards and 2 scores. After having only 9 total yards on the season, this was an absolute explosion. But he did this to us last year too, so maybe we just never learn. Ravens have Chiefs this week, as we kind of talked about. I can see them really trying to bottle up Henry, but I think Lamar probably still shines. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, the Ravens have played the Bills and the Lions in 2 of the past 3 weeks. Now they get the Chiefs. This is a perfect and will probably be the only opportunity that you have to buy Derrick Henry for a discount. In 2 of the 3 of these last games, the Ravens could not get ahead. They had a neutral or a negative game script. And this is the only weakness of Derrick Henry, is that when the team is behind, they need to pass the ball more frequently. If this team is losing, they can't run as often. But we don't expect this to happen all season. Once they start playing not top 5 NFL teams, the Kin is going to go back to him being himself because they're winning early. They're going to run the ball on the ground. I am not worried about this Ravens team whatsoever, and go out and get Derrick Henry for a discount and ride him to the championship.
Waiver ads, I say Isaiah will likely supposed to be coming back here soon. If you're still kind of a believer in him, or if something were to happen to Mandrews.
All right, well, that's all we got for today. I know it's a little bit longer. We had a lot of good stuff to tell you, but as always, if you like what you heard, give us a like and subscribe. If not, we just appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for hanging out. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. And as always, go steal a championship. We'll catch y'all later.
Text Josh back on his trade offers, okay? Jeez.
Yeah, you punk. Jeez. Later.